Welcome back to my Channel 3 phone calls were all it took to blow apart the Republican Party. The first came at 9:47 in the evening Eastern Time on January 12, 2025. The second followed at 10:23. The third at 11:08. And before midnight, GOP leadership had reached a decision that could redefine American politics for the next 10 years. This is what you need to know. At Republican National Committee headquarters in Washington, the lights were still on after 1 in the morning. Security records show senior staff who had already gone home returning between 11:30 and midnight. Something urgent was happening, and it was not just people working late. Subscribe to this channel right now and turn on notifications, because what I am about to share is still unfolding. My sources are still calling. More documents are surfacing. By tomorrow morning, this story will be far bigger than what you see right now. This is not just about 23 Republicans signing a letter. This is institutional breakdown happening in real time. I have internal RNC polling that shows Donald Trump is now underwater in 18 states. Party leaders did not turn on Trump because they suddenly found religion. They turned because the money did. Major donors saw numbers you have not seen and made a cold calculation. Supporting Trump beyond January 2025 means political extinction by November 2026, and I am going to show you the donor call that set everything in motion, including the exact language used when they decided to walk away. But first, you need to understand how much money is involved, because this is not about values, it is about survival, and survival depends on funding. Let me take you back to January 8, 2025, Palm Beach, Florida. A private fundraiser at a beachfront estate. This was not a routine donor dinner. It was a test. Big donors wanted to see if Trump could behave in front of the people financing his political machine. He could not. I have audio excerpts from that night. And what Trump said in that room is why everything unraveled 4 days later. He was not attacking Democrats or the press. He was talking about Republican senators who certified the 2020 election, and he was allegedly discussing using the Justice Department to go after them, not as policy, but as punishment. What matters most is not just what he said, but who was there when he said it. 47 donors with a combined net worth exceeding $12 billion. These are not grassroots supporters sending $20 donations. These are the people who pay for campaign infrastructure. And when they heard him threaten to target fellow Republicans with federal power, the financial foundation started cracking. Here is what collapsed. Tier 1 institutional funding, bundlers who commit over $100 million across election cycles. As of January 13th, 4 of the 7 biggest bundlers froze all Trump-related commitments. Tier 2, corporate political action committees in the $10 to $50 million range. 9 of 14 are now asking for what they call alternative candidate briefings, meaning they want to know who else is available. Tier 3, small dollar donors under $200 are still loyal. But that money does not pay for multi-million-dollar television buys, voter data systems, legal compliance teams, or nationwide field operations. The establishment funds those, and the establishment just turned off the tap. Remember this name. Kenneth Griffin, CEO of Citadel and one of the largest Republican donors ever, with more than $100 million spent in recent cycles. On January 11th, Griffin allegedly hosted an emergency video call with 40 mega donors focused on post-Trump planning. That call happened before the letter. The letter did not cause the money to move. The money moved first, and the politicians followed. I have a memo from that call, and will read it shortly. But first you need to understand who was already positioning themselves to benefit, because for months several candidates have been quietly building campaign structures, and one of them knew about the recording before it became public. I can show you how. Ron DeSantis knew. On January 9th, one day after the Palm Beach fundraiser, DeSantis suddenly canceled 3 Florida events in Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami with less than 12 hours' notice and gave no explanation to staff. On January 10th, he met privately with Texas Governor Greg Abbott in Houston, a meeting not listed on either public schedule, only confirmed after flight records showed DeSantis's plane landing that afternoon. Then on January 11th, his super PAC released nearly $3 million for Iowa field operations. That is not routine spending, that is fast-action money used when a political opening appears and you need immediate ground presence. 24 hours later, the letter hit RNC headquarters. And on January 13th, DeSantis tweeted that Republicans should focus on winning, not fighting each other. Notice what he did not say. He did not defend Trump. He did not attack the letter. He did not use the language the MAGA base expects. What you leave out can be louder than what you say. That message told donors he was ready and would not bring chaos with him. Now look at Nikki Haley. On January 11th, she sat for a primetime CNN interview and said the party needs leaders who inspire, not divide, and that Americans are tired of drama and want to move forward. That interview aired 8 hours before the letter was delivered to the RNC the next morning. That is not coincidence. Someone warned her, and here is the proof. Her super PAC released a professionally produced ad the very next afternoon. That kind of ad cannot be made overnight. It takes days, which means production began before the letter became public. Haley knew. DeSantis knew. The only real question is who leaked the recording in the first place. What they are preparing for is not a normal primary. Lawyers, former party officials, and campaign strategists are gaming out nightmare scenarios. Scenario 1, legal paralysis. Trump refuses to accept party authority and sues, claiming the party cannot block him after accepting his ballot filings in most states. He argues the party is acting like a cartel restricting competition, an antitrust violation. No court has ever ruled on something like this. Litigation could drag past the convention and possibly into the general election. Scenario 2, Trump runs as an independent. If the party backs someone else, he leaves, splits the vote, hands Democrats the presidency with a low plurality, and Republicans lose the House and Senate. Scenario 3, a brokered convention with delegate chaos, credential fights, floor battles, and possibly physical confrontations between rival factions, fracturing the party on live television. This is why leadership acted in January. They needed time to avoid total disaster. But they did not count on Trump moving first. His legal team already drafted a lawsuit before the letter was delivered. That means they knew the rebellion was coming. The legal theory is unprecedented. They argue that once the party accepted his ballot filings, it created a binding contract, and removing support violates party rules and federal antitrust law. They seek massive damages, but the real goal is not winning. It is delay. Even a hopeless lawsuit can take months. Appeals can stretch past the convention. During that time, the party cannot fully commit to another candidate without risking everything being undone by a court ruling. The result is paralysis. Trump does not need victory, he only needs time. From a constitutional standpoint, this argument is extremely weak. Parties are private organizations with the right to choose their nominees. Courts have repeatedly affirmed that. But litigation itself can cripple the party, even if the claim fails. Trump files, seeks injunctions, appeals every ruling, and drags the party into legal fog while the primary calendar advances. The establishment is then forced to either fall back in line or fracture the party completely. This is a hostage strategy. Meanwhile, international allies are already adjusting. NATO has circulated contingency planning documents about U.S. political instability. European governments are questioning whether American security guarantees can be relied on if domestic politics collapse into chaos. China is watching closely and accelerating pressure around Taiwan. Russia benefits from delayed Ukraine support. Regional allies are recalculating whether Washington can act decisively. Domestic dysfunction creates global openings, always. So the real question is not whether Trump wins. It is whether the Republican Party survives the attempt to remove its own frontrunner. Every past party crisis had an exit. Nixon resigned. Bush left after defeat. Trump lost in 2020 and eventually left office. This time he is not leaving, not compromising, and not accepting party authority. That creates a situation the U.S. political system has never truly faced. What happens when a party can no longer control who runs under its banner? Sources say more senators may sign the letter. One major candidate may announce soon, and there may be another recording even more damaging than the first. This is still unfolding. Share this with anyone who needs to understand what is happening beyond the headlines. This is not about left versus right. This is about whether political parties can still function, or whether single figures can now hold entire institutions hostage.